good evening, everyone. Welcome to the podcast Brands and Beyond. Today, I have here with me Mr. Rithish Kumar, who is the co-founder for Peesafe. Hi, Rithish. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
How are you? How's things?
I'm good. Things are rolling in, so
Amazing.
happening well.
So, Rithish, you co-founded one of the brands which is one of a kind here in India. I just wanted to understand what brought about this inception of idea and how did this brand come up?
No, so the brand actually started before we started this company.
Okay.
It was actually started by Vikas and Saxena, the husband and wife,
Okay.
out of a personal incident that they faced. So Vikas used to run a company called Safety Guard.
Okay.
This was started after the Nirbhaya rape case in 2013, very early 2013. And during one of their travels, actually, Saxena, Vikas's wife and also the co-founder, she fell sick.
Okay.
And she was hospitalized and they had to abandon their road trip and come back to Delhi.
Sad.
Upon talking to doctors, they understood that, she got UTI and she got UTI. One of the reasons could have been because she was traveling a lot and they were using, restrooms outside of the home, etc. Right? Now, when the doctor said that, they said that they did not really use any public washroom.
No.
They stayed at 5-star hotels, ate at good restaurants, and the common perception is that even a 5-star hotel washroom is very clean. It's the safest it can be, but then the underlying factor was that even the cleanest looking washroom may not be sanitized. There can still be bacteria and germs, and therefore there's a chance of getting infections.
Understood.
And a lot of women also, what happens is, because they're on the go, they don't drink enough water. And water is required a lot, because if they have to, when they pee is when they flush out a lot of bacteria which are there.
Correct.
And so that whole incident actually was a learning for them. And after a lot of discussion, deliberation, they understood that, there's nothing actually being done on this front. And therefore, they decided that there has to be a solution to it. Now, what can you do to sanitize toilet seats?
Correct.
One could be just take a hand sanitizer, use a tissue paper, and then wipe it off with your hands.
Correct.
Couple of inconvenience. One, you have to use your hand.
Yeah.
Second, you have toilet paper. A lot of washrooms do not have toilet paper in India. Even if they have it, they don't have a dustbin to dispose it. If they were to dispose it in the pot, it clogs the pot. So they started researching, learned that if a sanitizer could be sprayed from a distance and it has the ability to evaporate itself,
correct,
it would really make a difference, right?
Yeah.
And within 6 months, they were able to soft launch a product, and that was even more interesting, which is where the name was coined. So name was, we wanted an idiot-proof name.
Correct.
Anybody could understand what the product stands for. And I think that it's been a journey, right? So for 3.5 years, Vikas and Saxena were selling this from their safety car, from their e-commerce platform Safety Card.
Correct.
In 2017 is when they decided that they will form this company, which is when I came on board. A couple of other folks came on board, and that's been it. And the brand transformed into a label, which later transformed into the product transformed into a label, and then it transformed into a brand.
Makes sense. So you precisely said the name is very, something that catches on to people.
Yeah.
And it is very self-explanatory, right? Another example that I can think of is something like a paid supper, right? Something which gives you the direct message as to what the brand is about and what it does, right? You started with India. You started selling across India. Can you help me understand how did you penetrate these markets? What was the story like? What was the journey like?
So we had a good set of customers when we were just sort of trialing out the product. We'd almost sold to 30,000-40,000 people.
Okay.
Through online, through Safety Card.
Yeah.
And then there was a good repeat there.
Okay.
Now, when you have a set of users, especially mostly women, for whom you saw one of the biggest problems, what happens is there's a lot of word of mouth, lot of referral, right?
True.
And I think that was one of the biggest reason for our growth, rather early growth, because with very limited resources, when we started the company, we were able to sell both online and also go into fewer offline markets. We were present in Gurgaon and Delhi, so it was natural that we start offline there first, and then we started going to more cities. I think the penetration increased as we were investing a lot on education and awareness
Correct.
of the subject.
Correct.
As opposed to product. We didn't ever do the fear mongering advertising, where germs are in, you'll die, whatever. We just kept it very simple. We want to reduce the risk of infections that you get from toilets. Therefore, you use our products.
Makes sense.
And with that clean, simple message, a lot of women who were facing a trouble while going to washrooms when they were outside the home, they related with it. They used it. Once that girl, say probably office going girl, she used it. She recommended her mom to use it. Her maybe a sister to use it. If she's a middle-aged woman, maybe if she had a daughter, she would recommend it. And then of course their friends and family. So a product has its own journey, and if done well, if it really does solve a massive problem for a consumer, your word of mouth will still be like 70-80% driver of growth.
Correct.
Of course, you have to ensure supply is across, and that of course is where Bizom has also kind of helped us in some way.
Understood. Amazing. So what I know from now is that Peesafe is available across, I think it's above 30 countries, if I'm correct?
20 plus countries, 23 countries to be precise. Yeah.
Okay. So how was it, how was the journey of penetrating those foreign markets, and which one was the easiest and which one was the hardest?
So I'll come to the first question.
Okay.
That, we grew so we have two markets. One is developed market, and the other is developing markets.
Correct.
And we had different strategies for both.
Okay.
So in developed markets, we worked a lot more on getting the compliances and selling online.
Correct.
In developing markets, we looked at how we can kind of replicate the same distribution model that we have here, which is both omni-channel in those. So we kind of sort of found partners who can honestly work like us.
Correct.
Instead of really deploying a lot of sales team, etc., sales and marketing team in those countries, and we incentivize them in a manner that they work almost like how we operate in India.
Yeah.
One of the things that you asked me about, which has been the toughest market, I think it still is India.
Agreed.
And there is, because India still is 90% of our total revenue.
Correct.
And therefore a lot of our time and energy or focus goes in building this, and which is why and also the current level of disposable incomes, literacy rate, education awareness, we have to work so much more harder to penetrate here. And I'll be honest with you, we've not put this much energy or even fraction of this in any other international markets. So we don't know. We want to build for India and then of course go global. But since day one, because the products that we did were not available anywhere else in the world, so sky was the limit for us, and we always aspired to be a global brand.
Amazing. I have talked to many co-founders, many people who have started their own brands. And for them, India has been the toughest market to crack in just because of diversity, right? One state is entirely different from the another, and that is where I have another question for you. When we talk about traditional trade, there are a lot of stakeholders that are involved, right? Now, considering the language or the subject that you're actually tackling, how do you make sure that all the stakeholders in your retail or in the trade segment, how do you manage that?
So honestly, I think the change maker are people on the bottom, which is consumers.
Yeah.
And we need to first normalize this whole conversation for them. So all our efforts with regard to content and marketing, or even just in general awareness with the help of our non-profit partners and all, is just to break those myths and taboos for them.
Okay.
And normalize the conversation.
Okay.
And honestly, which is where we spend a lot of our marketing money or energy on.
Yeah.
So once a consumer is aware and they're going and asking a retailer in the value chain, then the retailer will definitely have to keep it, right?
Correct.
And then it sort of builds up on top. So so there's a two-way approach. One is you educate the consumer.
True.
So that the consumer starts asking the retailer, and parallelly you also do some retailer education.
Yeah.
Because some of these products are so new, the concepts are so new that for a retailer they often go crazy.
Exactly.
So to tell them that अच्छा पहले पैड आता था वो सोक करता था, now ये something which will hold it, which is a menstrual cup.
Correct.
And therefore a lot of customers are asking for it. उनको बहुत आराम से समझाना पड़ता है. I think the pitching also that happens in stores has to be done very very differently, and you have to sometimes even bank on the traditional methods. Because लोगों को तो बड़े ब्रांड का नाम पता है, तो उसका बताओ कि उससे कितना डिफरेंट है.
Correct.
उसमें ये ऐड कर दिया तो ऐसा बन गया.
Correct.
So I think then once retailer is educated, a lot of time retailers also in a way propagates very positively about our brand, which helps.
Understood.
So
what has been one key insight about the Indian retail system that you think really helped you to have this kind of penetration?
One insight, honestly speaking, I mean, there's no one, but
like one takeaway, like, okay, this is the thing.
One takeaway is that clearly you cannot build a consumer brand by just being online.
Yeah.
Right. So it has to be like a omni-channel approach.
Yeah.
You have to be available in stores. You have to be available on marketplaces, your own website, quick com, etc. And be where the customers are. So if the customer, today is searching, is going to the pharmacy, maybe at night, if they don't find the product in pharmacy, they will go and buy it from Blinkit or any quick com, right? So omni-channel presence is very, very critical.
Okay.
In the success of any early to growth stage brand.
So I was reading about Peesafe, and I think you were the first ones to bring a toilet seat sanitizer in India. And I have seen that there are a lot of more products that you were the first ones to bring in. So can you help me understand what all products did you come up with?
No, so I think one correction, we were globally the first ones to do toilet seat sanitizer.
Okay.
We're still the highest selling toilet seat sanitizer.
Okay.
In India, we have 92-93% market share, despite having big players like Reckitt and all being in the market.
Okay.
So that's one. I think other products that we were first in the world, one I can top of my mind recall is our cramp relief roll-on, which is essential for women who are on their periods and are having cramps. So earlier what used to happen was a lot of women, especially young girls, because when they're teenagers or their early 20s and they're having their period and they would have severe cramps.
Yeah.
And they would mostly pop up a pill, a painkiller.
Correct.
Which government advisory recently has come on that it's not a safe product to use.
Yeah.
So we launched a Ayurvedic pain relief roll-on, which was meant to reduce period cramps significantly.
Understood.
So that was the first.
Understood. So we have an understanding now that you brought on these two products globally. You were the first to bring it around. But there were many personal care products that existed in the market for decades, right? What kind of improvements, what kind of changes have you done to those to make it, much more user-friendly?
So honestly, not a single product that you will find that we've done has been at par with the incumbents, right?
Okay.
So we knew this very clearly that there's only one way you can make consumers switch from incumbent brands to brands like us, which are challenger brands, is by having a very differentiated product and a product that actually is solving a micro problem that those biggies are not thinking about also.
Correct.
So I'll give you an example. We did a panty liner. Panty liner in India was almost a decade-old category when we started in 2018. And all the liners in India were actually being imported mostly from China.
Okay.
And the thing is, you're getting a Chinese liner which is suitable more for a Chinese consumer, which is a very short and thin liner, 155 mm liner, and also very, very thin. And the Indian consumer is actually not using it as panty liner also.
Okay.
So there are two aspects. One, Indian women's sizes slightly bigger than the Chinese women. The Chinese women are typically very petite. And the other thing is Indian women are not really using it as a purpose of panty liner only. They're using it for their surprise period. They're also using it towards the end of their cycle. And therefore, the learning and the insight we had, we used it to make a longer length of liner. So we're the first long length or extra long length panty liner.
Yeah.
We launched a 185 mm liner. And it was also slightly thicker than the usual one because we understood that women were using it as sort of like a pseudo pad.
Correct.
And with that, we're now number one liner brand in the country. We sell 2 million liner every month.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we're ahead of all the biggies. I would not want to name them, but it took us a while to penetrate with this product. But when we did that, we're seeing great results.
Understood.
Yeah.
So coming to the
and likewise, to interrupt, but likewise there are many other products where we differentiated. We did the first organic cotton and biodegradable sanitary napkin.
Okay.
We did the first organic cotton and biodegradable tampon.
Okay.
We also were to launch a female condom in the country. We were the first ones to launch a menstrual disc in the country.
Okay.
I mean, I can go on with all the first, but the whole idea has been that when we are differentiating these products, they have to be better for the consumer, and therefore we kind of swear by this tagline of better for you. So we want to improve your life every day slightly better, and all our products are going to help you do that.
Understood. So you mentioned about competing with giants, right? These giants have been dealing in this category for decades now, right? Existing into the retail segment and existing in the modern trade segment as well, right? How did you compete against those? What were the things that you did differently and made sure that you made a mark?
I think a lot of our hard work was actually being done in digital to compete with these biggies in offline as well.
Yeah.
Because we did not have the kind of resources that these had.
Correct.
These larger companies had. We were going into retail, we were going in online, educating the consumer.
Correct.
Getting them to trial the product by mostly online channels.
Correct.
And then perhaps making the product available offline for them to repurchase it or repeat from. So it has been very tough. It is still tough because they have all the might to crush a small brand like us. But I think the whole idea is that your customer is your biggest ambassador.
Correct.
You have to solve constantly for your customer. If they love the product, they will repeat.
Yeah.
And if they won't just repeat, they will also get their friends and family to use it.
Correct.
So that's honestly been one of the things. We can never compete with them in terms of pricing.
Yeah.
Honestly, till date, we will still be, our product will still be like a 10% up compared to the incumbents. So yeah, I mean, and in fact, in all of this, content marketing and being more digital savvy has helped us because these incumbents are still sort of learning it. They're very slow in terms of innovation. In fact, we're able to innovate much faster.
Correct.
We're able to relaunch, reiterate.
Correct.
In fact, rather launch also very quickly, whereas some of these big companies take like maybe sometimes a year, 2 years, 3 years to the same. So the agility in terms of both product launch and relaunch and marketing, education, our digital first approach, these are some of the things that have helped us compete with them.
Amazing.
But we're still leaps behind them. So
it's a journey that
correct.
I was going through the internet and I recently found out that Peesafe has partnered with the Indian Navy to provide menstrual hygiene to the female officers of the Indian Navy, right? Can you shed some light over that?
Sure. So we were in talks with certain senior officers in Navy, and we understood that a lot of Indian Navy officers, especially women and Agniveers, they have to, when they're sailing, they have to be in the waters at any point of time.
Okay.
And honestly, they don't have that kind of time to go and switch and and then take a dip.
Correct.
And therefore, they wanted a solution which could which could help them solve this problem. And therefore we came and we discussed that a menstrual cup really help.
Correct.
In that front, and therefore they decided that they will partner with us.
Correct.
Provide menstrual cup for all the sailors and Agniveers, and then have them sort of switch from pads to menstrual cup, especially when they're on board and sailing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean we've in a way given away a whole range of menstrual care kit to them, and then we're now also going to be available at the Indian Navy canteens, INCS, so that the ladies officers can or Agniveers can buy it from there.
Oh, that is amazing. So while going through the internet, something caught my eye. That was your concept of the peer room conversations. That is something that I see is as a first somebody doing an educational series to educate the customer about how and what to use and what is good for them, what is bad for them. How did this idea come across, and what was the theory behind it?
So interestingly, you would find women going to the loo almost every time in a group, and for good or fun reasons, they're mostly longer trips, and they're mostly chatting in general in the washroom. Maybe they're redoing their makeup or just cleaning up. So and we got insight that women talk about anything and everything inside a washroom.
Oh, okay.
And we're a brand which is honestly hovered around the washroom, right?
Correct.
So we thought, how can we bring that conversation that is happening inside a washroom, which is what we call P room, into a forum where women can actually kind of discuss the same things in a very fun, light, quirky manner. But at the same point in time, it needs to deliver that message, so that the customer gets aware and is able to, in fact, also hear about some of the most difficult topics. And so we started with this activity in 2017 for the first time. We did 4 episodes. We did it in each city. We did it in Delhi, then we did it in Bombay, Calcutta, and then we did it in Gurgaon.
Okay.
But it was, at that point in time, there was no podcast.
Yeah.
There was no concept of a podcast, honestly speaking. We used to do Instagram lives. And those Instagram lives used to be, and we would go to a city, we would get some of the most influential women of that city into a room, and we would ask them to talk about some of these difficult topics, and in between have those serious conversations where they're talking about women hygiene, etc.
Makes sense.
Cut to now, when we restarted earlier this year, the idea was that here we will do it with the intention of bringing about some of the subjects which are associated with our brand into and kind of discuss it without ever mentioning our brand at all, because the consumer doesn't want to get because so much branded content is thrown at their face on Instagram. We didn't want to do that. So this way the people are actually hearing it out, listening to what the the speaker or the guest is talking about, and in a way associating that, hey, Peesafe is a brand that cares for us, and therefore is trying to normalize some of these conversations for us. That's been the idea.
Amazing. So you have established this market. Looking forward, how do you see what is the future for the feminine hygiene segment? And what do you think is the room for innovation in this?
I think the fair bit of innovation has already happened, especially in the last 5 years.
Okay.
And according to me, we would move away from being a traditional sanitary napkin market.
Okay.
I see that the penetration will definitely grow. Right now, we're hovering between 35 to 40%.
Okay.
In terms of menstruators using a pad or any other feminine menstrual hygiene product. This will go. I mean, the idea is to take it closer to 100.
Okay.
At the same point in time, we will also see that some of the other products like a menstrual cup or a tampon or a reusable pad or a period panty will become a norm.
Okay.
And gone were the days that the women were only using pads. Now she's using a mix of 2-3 products. She's using, if she's using a menstrual cup, she's also using like a panty liner just to stay protected.
Yeah.
Maybe at night she's using a period panty. Towards the end of the cycle she's using a liner. So the whole ecosystem has changed. And therefore, us as a brand, we've never really thought that you should build the a one product, one brand strategy, which is what the biggies and the incumbents do. We feel that consumers should be given an option to choose and mix and match and really care for themselves. So, and I feel that is going to be one of the biggest, I would say, change in this industry. And the sooner you caught on to it, the better it is. And I think also pads will, at some point of time, because the kind of plastic waste or menstrual waste that they generate will have to be redone. Where focusing a lot on doing biodegradable ones.
Correct.
But I think a reusable pad is also a great option.
So we talked a lot about Peesafe, right? Just want to understand what other brands do you have, if you can help me understand that.
So we have two sub brands.
Okay.
One is Fur by Peesafe, and the other one is Domina by Peesafe.
Okay.
And they were both, I would say, COVID babies.
Oh.
So we had interesting insights. A lot of women during COVID could not go to salons,
Correct.
right? But they still needed grooming products.
Yeah.
Therefore, we launched a set of grooming products under a brand called Fur.
Okay.
Fur is your body hair,
Yeah.
and therefore Fur by Peesafe.
Yeah.
And the interesting aspect is that around that time women were getting more comfortable using razors on their body.
Okay.
So we were trying to normalize that because there were a lot of myths around if you use a razor your thickness will be higher, your growth will increase, etc. So that I think, and the second product or brand that we've done is called Domina by Peesafe. Domina by Peesafe. Domina by Peesafe. This is actually a summation of the last 3 letters of condom, Dom, and last 4 letters of vagina. Therefore, Domina.
That's an interesting name.
So the first product that we did was a female condom.
Oh, okay.
Right. So women in India have to negotiate for safe sex and unwanted pregnancy with their partner, and therefore this product actually really helps women take their charge.
Correct.
So since then we've launched a couple of other products for women's sexual health and wellness. So these are 2 brands, and in some way I feel that they're very, very adjacent to our subject of women health and hygiene.
Exactly.
Fur is more with women hygiene, and Domina is more on the sexual health or women health space.
Correct.
So this is the same target group who is also buying Peesafe, who's also buying Fur and Domina, and therefore there's a very good synergy.
Amazing. So you are, expanding pan-India. You have your retail presence in pan-India. How did you break through to the, the rural markets? What were the challenges that you faced in our rural markets?
So I'll tell you the 2-part answer to it.
Okay.
One is what were our efforts in terms of developing for rural India.
Yeah.
So we did launch a product, a range of, in fact, a sanitary napkin product for rural India called Safe, which fortunately could not work out and has been one of the biggest learning because we were an organization more suited to serve the urban consumer, slightly more educated, has affordability, and therefore we took that call to not continue with it. But while we did stop it, our efforts to educate and that consumer did not stop. So we have a wing in our organization which is called Hakse Period, where we have a certain set of volunteers, mostly college students, some of the people from corporates also. They go and educate women and girls in rural India and urban slums.
Okay.
Now, the whole idea is that they go educate them about menstrual hygiene management and the best practices to ensure their hygiene during period and otherwise also, and give them products that they can actually use and reuse. And therefore menstrual cup and reusable pad are more of a focus there. Because traditionally if you go with sanitary napkin, the lady will use it once but she will not have the money to buy it again.
Correct.
So idea is to create that habit. And with this we have now impacted almost 2.5 lakh women with a set of almost 50-60 volunteers in the last 3.5-4 years. And a lot of non-profits, a lot of large corporates like Amazon, Microsoft have partnered with us to further this initiative.
Amazing.
And we're extremely grateful for that. So while we are selling to the India, we also want to, give for Bharat.
Amazing. So that sounds like an achievement, and it really touched my heart to see that corporates like you are actually doing a bit for the rural India as well. But what other achievements have you had? What is that one achievement that is very close to your heart?
Honestly, we're extremely delighted and grateful for even the smallest of the achievement that we get. It could be launching a new product. It could be taking an existing product to a certain milestone, reaching an X number of customers, or opening up a new city or a new country.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I can recall and has been very, very helpful for us in terms of our global expansion has been the award that we received from Amazon.
Oh,
In 2020, right before COVID. This was in Jan 2020 when Amazon was hosting Sambhav, which is when Jeff Bezos had flown down to India for the first time and wanted to meet Indian brands and seller. And there we got the best SMB brand of the year award. And after that, we actually started on our journey with Amazon in the global markets. We started with Amazon US, UK, Europe, etc. So that I would say is one of the biggest achievements, but there've been many, and in fact, there almost every day we're doing something very differently, which almost feels like an achievement.
Yeah. Thank you, Rithish. Thank you for your time. It has been an amazing experience to learn about you and the brand that you've created, and it has been a humbling experience. So thank you for your time. Right.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast of Brands and Beyond. Stay tuned for more podcasts and stories.